Aloha, Professor. How are you? I hope all is well. I tried to change up the garment a little bit. Was going to do this without my glasses, but then I realized that I'm blind without. And right now, I feel like I'm a anime antagonist. But regardless, we're going to jump into our journal and go from there. So this week, we were talking about what were some things that we could do for effective resource building and how we can accurately describe what our resources are, why they're reliable, and so on and such forth. For me personally, I know through Purdue that a lot of our reliable resources are generally found in the Purdue Library. Oftentimes, it's not always going to be an available source, primarily because we're not going to be a student for life, even though that is the motto, student for life. With researching, generally any websites with .gov or .org are generally reliable, just for the fact that they're a highly relied source, highly accredited, pardon me, and generally the information you're getting is very straightforward. Now, for the source that I chose an article from the Portland Press from a 2016 article regarding women's rights. I kind of jumped on this bus just a little bit just to give myself a different challenge. When we come to women's rights, the article talked a lot about the indifferences for pay, the indifferences for treatment, and many other aspects of life that are consistently changing as time goes. Now, from 2016 till then, obviously there's been a lot of changes, and this can be found in different articles, which I don't have currently cited. I'm not going to get into it too in depth because that's a topic that's really ever ongoing and always will be. Now, the reason why I chose the article though is I want to say it's not because it was an opposing viewpoint, and it's not that I didn't see that there was any truth or any opinion to it. They spoke very, very in depth as to why they felt these scenarios were, the reasonings why they were, and they threw a lot of valid points out. The problem is a lot of the sources that were cited for them, for their spokeswoman, was opinionated to me because they talked to sources such as Hillary Clinton. Now, when we're talking about people that we see as an ideal icon for women's rights, that's not the first person that I would go to. Partially because of the political aspect of it and all the other issues behind her figure as current. But a lot of it is she just doesn't have that charisma, she just doesn't have that character. And that's my opinion. That's the thing. We have our own opinions as to who we think are and aren't the best sources. We have our opinions to everything. So the article may not have a lot of truth to it for the fact that we don't really know what the real truth is. We don't really know what our opinions are or what their opinions are. We can know what's stated, but is that what they really meant to state? And when we look at this, we have the three topics that you were talking about in the article cited by Jeff, the primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. And throughout this article, there's a lot of secondary sources, mostly people who are accredited for things. And they do have their own accomplishments, and a lot of things were done throughout this time era. But regardless, to me, it's still an opinionated source. Now, I always love to seek out the routine differences between things. I like to try and keep everything as neutral as possible. I'm a firm believer that you don't know a full story until you know both sides of the story. And that's always going to be the hardest thing that is always pursued upon in any kind of conversation, in any kind of environment, in any kind of leadership role. The article was supposed to talk about mentorship as a leadership role, but there wasn't really much conversation about mentorship. A lot of it was about leaders that they thought were good influencers, but no mentoring whatsoever. And me as a person, I see that you do what you do. and people are going to follow the examples that are set, not the ones that are said. And that's probably why this article stuck out to me more so. There's a lot of good talk, especially for a high school setting, as to what the past was. And that's good because children do need to know what the past was, because we don't want to go back to the past. We're trying to move forward, not backwards. But being able to show the next generation, show whoever's trying to be the better, move forward is always and forever will be the number one goal in my eyes. So for this article, they had a lot of good stuff, but they didn't per se talk about what they wanted to do with the direction. They didn't give a reason how to move forward. They just showed how to stay where they were. And that's what I want to see when I'm looking at my articles. I want to see the direction forward, not the direction neutral. So that's all I have right now. Went a little over my time. Starting getting into a little bit of tangent there, so I'm going to cut that off before I do get into the tangent. And before I deuce out, you have a good day. Take care.